Hey there folks, Hilton here with Super Nerd Video, and I just got finished watching the first 4 episodes of Marvel's Defender show on Netflix, and it's really good. It's a lot better than their last Netflix show, Iron Fist. Iron Fist had a lot of problems. The character of Iron Fist is in this show, of course, with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Daredevil, and they're fighting the Hand and stuff. And the show is about the dynamic between all 4 of them coming together to fight a common enemy. It's a lot of classic, superhero like team up stuff. You see stuff like this in the comic books all the time. In like the first issue of like comic books, when you have heroes who haven't really worked together before, and there's a reason why they have to get together to band together as a superhero team and fight evil. And this show was like the live action Netflix version of that, and I thought it was really good so far. I've only watched the first 4 episodes. I'm gonna watch the next 4 and try to make a video about those. That'll be up tomorrow. But let's get into it. One of the things I like, I'm gonna break it up, into just things that I noticed and want to talk about in this show, and that's pretty much how I'm gonna do my commentary. The first thing I want to talk about is the character of Iron Fist in the show. And I think it was cool or interesting. In the first Iron Fist, the TV show, they really emphasized the fact that his fist, his chi that he channels through his fist, he hasn't really mastered that yet. And I'm kind of like, come on, dude. And they still continued that with this show. It's like in the beginning of the first episode when he's, fighting and chasing Elektra. And, he makes his hand glow when she like goes into the alley and he can't find her. I was wondering, like, can he make that like stay on and be like a light and find her? Like, she's in this alley and she's disappeared in the shadows and he's looking for her. And he makes his fist glow for like a second and then it goes off. And I'm like, keep it on like a light bulb, dude. Go look for it. Like, come on. Let's customize this fist. Let's be able to use it for more than just, like a super move in a fight and then it goes away. Let's do more with that. And then like later on in what episode was that? Episode 3, when he confronts, Sigourney Weaver's Alexandra in like that, Midland Enterprises building. It's like there's all these ninjas and stuff or people fighting him, and he has to summon his like Iron Fist to be able to knock them off of him, and he can't get it to work. He's like, come on. And I'm like, dude, come on, how long have you had this power? It's like, most people, if they had the power to make their fists glow and supercharge, they'd be like masters at it, by the time they get to be like 27, or however old Iron Fist, like 30 or whatever, however old Iron Fist is supposed to be. I don't know how old it was when he first got his fist powers, but in the show, it's like, come on, dude, get this stuff together. If you want to be an immortal weapon with like this superpower, learn how to use it better. The Iron Fist action scenes and the action scenes all around in Defenders were a drastic improvement from the way the action scenes were done in the Iron Fist TV show. Like, the choreography or the directing in that show, the fight scenes were very uninspired. It was almost like someone just turned on a camera and let it sit there. It was just, I don't know. But in Defenders is a lot better. Iron Fist seems a lot better as, one of the best. In the comic books, he's supposed to be one of the best fighters in the Marvel Universe. He didn't seem that way in the first Iron Fist show. But in Defenders, he and everyone else, just the way that the fight scenes are executed, they're just a lot better. But I did notice, when Iron Fist was fighting Luke Cage for the first time in like that street, and multiple times, I could tell when it was like the stunt double and not the actor. There was, scenes with Elektra, scenes with Colleen, scenes with a lot of people where I felt like I could see, I don't remember if it was Colleen, with like Elektra and other people where I could tell Jessica Jones, where it like wasn't them, it was their stunt double and then it would cut back to them. But, I'm not going to fault the show for that. I mean, all kinds of movies and TV shows are like that. And, why pick on the Defenders when you can pick that stuff out a lot of times in a lot of movies and TV shows? In episode 1, Luke Cage and Claire finally hook up. In the Luke Cage TV show, they were starting, their romance, and they were hinting at the fact that the two of them were going to get together, and they never did. And in this show, they finally did, but it was actually kind of anticlimactic. I can't say why, but it was matter of fact. It was like, yeah, they hook up, but it just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed like nothing really. Just, like there was no build-up. They did, I don't know, I was kind of like let down, but I guess it'll be nice to see Luke Cage in an actual like relationship. Well, I don't care. But in Luke Cage, he was pretty much, like a player and stuff. That's the character, but he does eventually settle down, and so I guess it's with Claire. It's interesting though, because he first appeared in like the Netflix universe in Jessica Jones, the TV show, and it seemed like Jessica Jones was going to be like his girlfriend, because they do get together in the comics. But I don't know, the Netflix universe does not seem to be going in that direction, or if they do, it's not happening yet, because right now he's with Claire, and it's cool. I like Claire and Luke as a couple, but it's weird looking at it knowing that it might not last if they're going to follow the comics and have Luke eventually get together with Jessica Jones and they have a baby and stuff like that. But we'll see. This show has a lot of supporting characters from the different character shows, but there are no Meachums from Iron Fist. And I think that's funny, because after watching Iron Fist, the Meachums were like on that show way too much. It's like they were on there so much, they threatened to take the show away from Iron Fist, and it was his show. And I think it's wise for Defenders not to include them, because they aren't even really Iron Fist friends anyways. And so there's no real reason for them to be on the show. I guess they kind of made it so that Ward was sort of kind of Iron Fist friend, maybe by the end of the show, but I don't know. Ward, I think, is kind of a frenemy more than a friend. But it's like you had people from all the other shows there, like Foggy, Karen, I can't list them all. But no Meachums, and the Meachums' absence in the face of the presence of all these other like side characters from the other character shows, it's pretty glaring. And I think it's because those characters don't really seem to serve any kind of purpose in Iron Fist except to be extraneous. We'll see, like, if they do an Iron Fist season 2 or Luke Cage and Iron Fist Heroes for Hire or whatever show, if the Meachums show up and in what capacity. I thought the actors were really good who played them, but the characters they were elevated too much, and I think it's good in Defenders they weren't there. And we have the appearance of Sigourney Weaver as the big main bad, Alexandra, who leads the Hand. And I thought it was interesting, when she has her meeting at the first episode with Madame Gao, how Madame Gao, who was like kind of the previous big bad of the Hand, almost or sort of, was like reduced to being Sigourney Weaver's character's like almost, she related to her like she was a henchwoman. And I was like, wow, I guess once an actress like Sigourney Weaver enters the show, other actresses get demoted if they aren't as famous enough. Because, Madame Gao was almost written as like, a second or third in command, I felt, to Sigourney Weaver's Alexandra. I also thought that the cinematography in the show, I mean, it was pretty good, but I felt like when they would do close-up shots on people, they would cover up too much of their faces. It's like that technique is called like the dirty frame, when you have something, I think that's what it's called, in like one side of the screen to obscure and blur out, and then you have the person's face or the focus subject like on the other side in like one of the corners. You see that a lot in over-the-shoulder shots, and they use it here in the Defenders, but I felt sometimes they covered up too much of the screen with the blurry part and not enough with the clear part of the person's face. In one of the scenes I noticed that was in the interrogation scene between Misty Knight and Jessica Jones. There was one scene when you could barely even see, you could only see part of Jessica Jones's face. And I was like, why didn't the director have the cameraman show her entire face? I mean, I understand you want to be artistic and stuff, but I think you should still see all of people's faces when they're talking. Unless you're purposely trying to like hide something for plot development, but they weren't trying to do that here. They were trying to be artistic, and I think they overdid it. And I noticed that throughout like the entire show, like in dialogue scenes, it was like, don't cover up the person's face, don't crowd them out. I mean, we want to see the whole face when the people are talking, right? It was just something I noticed, and maybe it was just me, a nitpicky thing, but whatever. I really like seeing all the characters like meet each other for the first time. I think episodes 1 to 3 is, when the Defenders, the way the show is set up, it's like, there's like this main plot, and then it filters down to the different Defenders members, and they have to like, they're following different, I guess, like detective trails or breadcrumbs, each on their own, and then, they cross each other's paths eventually by episode like 3 or 4. And then they start banding together to fight together when they were previously fighting, individually without knowing of each other's presence. And I like those first meetings, those misunderstandings, that sort of things. That was cool. And I want to talk about some of the other characters. You know, I talked a lot about like Iron Fist, and now let's move on. You know, there's Jessica Jones. She's cool. I really liked her here. Her show that she had was awesome. And she was more of the same here. More of like the acerbic kind of asshole. Well, more of the acerbic, you know, jerk of the group. But, you know, inside she really wants to help people. I think it's interesting, you know, how she and other people treat her. She is very like off-putting in her personality. But people act like, and she says, I'm not altruistic, I don't want to help people. But it's like she chose a job as a PI, and she's always winding up helping people and helping clients. So I think there is a part of her that really does want to help people. And, you know, she has issues, which they've already like addressed in her own show, a lot of them. But, you know, I think she needs to, I don't know, at this point, I think her character growth and character arc, she kind of has to like move past like the facade and embrace more of who she is. Great character. I think the show, you know, does her really well. But I think at this point, it's like she's got to kind of, you know, her life has changed. She's changed. And I think she kind of needs to move past this wall that she sets up and just look at herself and do more like, I guess, inner reflection or whatever. And maybe the show's building to that. I've only watched the first 4 episodes. And there's going to be a Jessica Jones season 2. So we'll see. And then there's Luke Cage. I have talked a lot about Luke Cage already. Luke Cage is similar to how he was in his own show. But I feel like here he has more. In the Luke Cage TV show, I felt he a lot of times was the strong silent type. Like he didn't really say, he would do a lot but wouldn't say much. And with this show, he has more dialogue. And I feel like we get to see a bit more of him being a bit more like verbally and emotionally expressive, which I like. You know, I don't understand why some people just, they are kind of more silent, don't talk that much. So I'm not going to say that's unrealistic or inaccurate. A lot of people are like that. But I just like seeing Luke Cage, I guess, more or less let his hair down. I know he doesn't have any hair. But it's like in the Luke Cage show, they were so preoccupied with, you know, setting up the stylistic kind of things about how that, you know, is very much about like the African American community and in Harlem, and they had certain social issues they wanted to set up. And I think they were so concerned with establishing that as well as Luke Cage, that the character of Luke Cage himself maybe wasn't served up as well as he should have been, given how he was the main character. I mean, don't get me wrong, Luke Cage did a lot in his own show, and he definitely got character development, but I felt like there were times when they didn't, because the show was so bogged down with trying to be social commentary and stuff like that, it sometimes didn't exactly let its main character breathe on his own as himself beyond that. And I feel like with the Defenders and his burgeoning relationship and friendship with Iron Fist and other things, we get to kind of see just more of the essence of Luke Cage himself when maybe that wasn't apparent before, and I like that. And then there's Daredevil here. Daredevil, I don't know what to say about Daredevil. In the first 4 episodes, he's there, but I don't feel like his character is emphasized as much as the others. I mean, he definitely serves a purpose, and it's not like he's a supporting character or anything. But the character of Daredevil himself didn't really stand out to me as much as the other 3. We do, of course, because Elektra is one of the bad guys in here, there's a lot of like Elektra Daredevil kind of tension when he realizes that Elektra is one of the enemies of the Hand in this adventure that they're having. You know, there's some of that, you know, oh my god, it's Elektra, you know, what am I going to do? That sort of thing, because of, you know, their romantic history. But beyond that, you know, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, he didn't seem that, he wasn't really that emphasized as much as the other characters. And so I'm curious to see, you know, what happens with him in the next 4 episodes. Because I felt like, you know, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist were a lot more, they made more of a statement in the first 4 episodes than Matt Murdock did. Not that he wasn't there, and that, you know, he wasn't important. He definitely was, but I just felt like he was just kind of like the straight man there to all these other 3 people who were a bit more like vibrant. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next 4 episodes. I hope that he's able to stand out a bit more later on than he has previously. But all in all, I thought the first 4 episodes of The Defenders was excellent. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to finish it up today, and I'm going to try to have a video out for you tomorrow about what I've seen when I finish it up. Thank you for watching. Please tune in tomorrow to see me talk more about The Defenders, and please subscribe to hear me talk about more Marvel stuff, more awesome Marvel stuff, and I'll see you soon. Bye.